Welcome to the end of a very long season of Dean of Doom, the show where we give grades to classic and contemporary Doom wads. That doesn't sound quite right anymore, does it? I have always been drawn to top 10 lists, sports statistics, review sites like AllMusic and IMDb. Most metrics that attempt to describe excellence interest me. This long-standing proclivity for rating things often clashes with my creativity, but it seems to be hard-coded into me, so I don't really fight it anymore. Dean of Doom's original objective was to fill my Doom spreadsheet with enough data to geek out about. If you haven't tried it, believe me, making a big list of every Doom level you've played feels good. It lets you step back and survey your entire history with the game, and ensures that you won't forget any of it. Unfortunately, attaching grades to my list had a slightly negative effect on this show. Reflecting on the blur of 2020 when I wrote most of Season 1, the stuff I lauded and bitched about in maps seems inconsequential next to the grades I wanted to give them. My reviews were much more curt and vague than they are now, relying on grade blank to do most of the evaluative work. Naturally, Barrels of Fun grade F followed by The Chasm grade A was more attention-grabbing than 150-word blurbs by themselves, but even back then, I knew this was just a gimmick. I just want to quickly add, compared to the personal connection you have with these levels, these grades are irrelevant. What I hope more than anything is that this video helped reaffirm what Doom 2 means to you, and offered a perspective that you hopefully found entertaining and maybe a little informative. Today on Dean of Doom, the writing is everything, and the grades are a means to an end. If this show sometimes comes off like a literary exercise, that's because Doom wads deserve the same dignity and consideration as literature. I've seen too many works of art in this medium to be convinced otherwise. I'm not going to abolish the grades, and we are going to do the report card shindig today because ranking things is still fun. It's just not the point of Dean of Doom anymore. My favorite video of Season 3 didn't even have any grades in it. Hiding the Secrets celebrates and encourages exploration of the Doomverse in a way that Dean of Doom never could, at least not without the carrot of public recognition and the stick of the dunce cap. I have some other Doom documentaries in the workshop, and although there's no timetable for when those will see the light of day, an off-season might speed up development. Not that I'm worried about you guys getting impatient. If the Doom community's good at anything, it's waiting. Speaking of not Dean of Doom, you may have noticed that I've been sharing MIDIs with you guys through the Misaligned Textures project. Music is my life. It is not my livelihood, so thank you for listening and for accepting the duds with the accidental successes. Addressing two FAQs, I use a program called Sakaiju to make MIDIs. I suggest consulting one or both of these helpful tutorials if you want to get started, and please use the tracks however you want, if you want. They're in the public domain. Even if I didn't want to diversify the channel's output, pursue my own creative interests, or have any semblance of a life outside of Doom, it would not be possible to keep abreast of new releases on this show. I've tried. Even after all of these, there are still over a dozen wads from the 2020s alone that deserve knockout Dean of Doom episodes testifying to their greatness. By the time I finish everything I can't live without covering, probably in 2026, I'm sure a dozen more unmissable wads will have come out. And that's not counting my drop everything in playlist of Plutonia 3, Necromantic Thirst, a new Doom Kid community project, JPCP 2, Machete 2, 2x2, and 182 minutes pour vive. And Hellion. So, yeah, clearly there's too much new stuff for Dean of Doom to keep up, but I would much rather publicize new stuff than bloviate about the classics going forward. So here's the plan. For the next few minutes, I'm going to recognize some excellent wads from the 2020s that, given a 3-month sabbatical from my job and all worldly worries, I would set aside time to cover. This will clear my plate a bit, but also leave the door open for revisiting them, maybe one day. Abscission by Snaxalotl is the spiritual sequel to Stickney Installation, a vanilla Doom 2 megawad that, like its Ultimate Doom predecessor, uses IDS levels as a starting point. However, Abscission mutates its source material considerably more than Stickney did. Cast in darkness and pumped full of paranoid gloom by its Snaxalotl original soundtrack, Abscission rewrites the standard Doom 2 journey as a twisted spiritual pilgrimage, from the desolate, discarded material world through a seething dream of urban undeath, and finally back to hell, rewoven from the tatters of your 90s nightmares. I've never given a damn about whether the wad I'm playing could run on Doom2.exe, but I can't believe Abscission isn't limit removing. It has moments I'd almost compare to Sunder for sheer vastness, and some of its maps are so insistently sculpted and layered I'm stunned they never crack 128 viz planes. That Doom 2 is still recognizable under all the shadows and intricacy only makes this wad more haunting. I was gonna say impressive, but the flashes of deja vu produce more dread than sentimentality, especially under a smothering blanket of musique concrete. If I had discovered Snaxalotl's work after Stickney and Abscission had both been completed, this is the one I would have chosen to cover first. Play this if you like Stickney Installation, Down the Drain, or Hellbound. Atonement by Mustachio is a 33-map vanilla campaign that uses a rusty color palette befitting the setting of its opening episode. On your warpath from Mars to Tartarus, you'll experience the full breadth of Mustachio's stylings. He can do everything from bite-sized suburban shootouts to sprawling, hell-blighted cities, all while keeping under the visplane limit. For a one-man megawad, Atonement has a lot of different deliveries, and the balmy electronica of composer Dial Up for Murder gives it a detached, futurist sound that synthesizes a one-of-a-kind atmosphere with Mustachio's color choices and vanilla simplicity. The appeal of Atonement is in its unconventionality. The opening episode contains some of the megawad's longest levels and a few really challenging fights, setting the tone for a non-standard difficulty curve and pace of play. Mustachio favors spread and exploration over hard-nosed slaughter gantlets, although high body counts do seem important to him. A simplistic comparison would be if I told you to imagine how Skillsaw would touch up Eternal Doom's layouts. Mustachio also saturates his maps in secrets and spends a lot of time making them interesting. Atonement lands in the maybe one day category because its gameplay never quite hooked me, but give it some time to sink in and you might really dig it. Play this if you like Anomaly Report, Akeldama, or Requiem. Cydonia by AD79 and Scotty is the Plutonia experiment's most loyal disciple. Faithful to the Kasali way down to its two-man design team, Cydonia sees AD79 and Scotty take turns dishing out line defs and trying on styles from 1996. There's none of PRCP's auteurism or Plutonia 2's grandiosity here, just 22 dense, direct, and inevitably nostalgic maps that have the same rhythm, resistance, and sense of proportion as their inspirations. The only map I haven't beaten is 31, a dark experiment built around archvile jumps. I lacked the patience to work it out on first meeting and haven't returned to it yet. Ironically, it's the map I remember most clearly, along with Scotty's rip-roaring go-to-it redux in this tribute. Play Cydonia if you like Plutonia or any of its progeny. Interception II by Mustachio and Friends is a flawed, fascinating epic. The early stretch of Interception II conjures enough color, verve, effervescence, spectacle, and musical chops to rival Ancient Aliens, but then it begins to unravel as it succumbs to identity confusion and magnum opus syndrome. Interception II is the title I most regret placing on the maybe list. There's enough passion here to fill 2 megawads, but it's such an uphill hike to play that I still haven't actually finished it, and I've tried twice. My aborted first climb is documented in the Doomworld Megawad Club's November 2021 installment. Spirit and eccentricity go a long way with me, and Interception II has them both. It's a 31-map megawad with an ambidextrous Doom guy who can fire the shotgun faster, and its designer cast unites the slaughter scene, the DBPs, and several would-be Beetle Boys. 7 of the first 14 maps are collaborations, and it's got a soulful score that mixes bespoke tracks by Stewboy, Luke Force, and Darman McRae with selections from the Rebirth and Revolution MIDI packs. I hope I can find the courage and stamina to tackle this map set someday, on Dean of Doom or off. Play this if you like Struggle Antiresian Legacy, Eviternity, or Japanese Community Project. Literalism is an incredibly strange community project led by MFG38, who assigned each participant a randomly generated map title and gave them 1 month to get creative. Choice cuts include Cosmic Cacodemons, Crippling Vestophobia, Fear of Clothing, Jungle of Albus, The Goat's Hideout, The Basement Problem, and A Lake. Electing to order the maps by submission date and letting the mappers use whatever textures they wanted, MFG38 nuked any hopes of continuity for Literalism, but the result is a lot more enticing than hitting random file on the idgames archive 26 times. It's a whacked-out time capsule of the Doom community circa 2021, a colorful fever dream with intense highs and jaw-dropping lows that glued me to my seat wondering what the hell was coming next. Without that morbid suspense, my second playthrough stalled, so it fell out of Season 3's roster, but I still haven't fully recovered from the whiplash it gave me, and that's gotta mean something. Play this if you like Nova the Birth, Community Chest, or Pandora. My Olden's 2 solo megawads from 2023, Nostalgia 2 and Obzen, came out within weeks of one another, and were slightly overshadowed by Pina Colada, which my Olden was also in charge of. Nostalgia 2 covers pretty much the same ground as the original, but divvies its maps into formal episodes this time. 3 of the 6 have something to do with hell, but the city episode breaks up the blood and brimstone with some of my Olden's best Doom cute yet. Like any good sequel, it's harder than the original, but episode 4 is particularly vicious, even more so than the final final stretch. In a release thread post, Myolden admitted there may have been some cross-contamination between these boiling hell caves and another project he was working on, which may or may not have been Obzen, another Plutonia Valentine. Obzen self-imposes a 100 monster maximum, but that's no impediment to its killing power. From the starting gun to the Gatekeeper's last groan, this megawad is taut and merciless. It's Plutonia for people who think the Kasalis gave you too much space and didn't use enough archviles. After shaking off the trauma of map 1, which is easily the hardest Plutonia-style opener I've ever seen, I ripped through Obzen in 3 nights. The only drawback to these megawads is their lack of hits. I have only fuzzy memories of individual maps, but maybe that's because I gobbled them up so quickly. Play Nostalgia 2 if you like the first one, and play Obzen if you need more Plutonia after Cydonia, or if you need a break from swift death. In 2021, Violent Beetle and the Beetle Boys put out 2 megawads called Hellevator and Skulltiverse. Both are rapidly assembled community projects that use the basic premise of break in, grab a skull key, and get the hell out. The 2 main differences between them are the color of the skull you're looking for and the restrictions the mappers had to work with. All of Hellevator's maps were required to fit inside a basic cross-shaped layout, and Skulltiverse's maps had to fit one of 6 themes. To stop my summary there would be very reductive, but expounding on the specifics would take 2 entire Dean of Doom episodes. As with any free-range community project, sifting the nuggets of brilliance from the misfits and misfires is half the fun, and it's always neat to see the survey results when a gaggle of new mappers are all given the same gimmick. These colorful grab bags are certainly worth sampling, at least to see some developmental work by future Beetle all-stars like DFF, Lord Entropy, Man with Gun, Moomy, Myolden, Shawnee, and Weird Sandwich. Play these if you like Going Down, the Nova series, or the Troisième d'Agonie series. And finally, Zeppelin Armada, the 59th Doomboards project, is one of their most impressive, immersive, and ambitious undertakings. Playing as the gun-toting time traveler Dexter Hornbuckle, you're on a mission to close a rift in reality that's allowing Doom to flood into your steampunk world. What a world it is. Zeppelin Armada's litany of custom graphics and sounds, sepia palette, and unparalleled commitment to interactive environments sets it apart from the crowd. Intricate non-boom hackery enables you to interact with cardboard NPCs and complete side quests, end-of-map cutscenes advance one of the most thoroughly integrated plots in Doom history, and of course there's a whole fleet of beautiful airships to admire. Rarely do you see this level of cohesion and innovation in a community project setting. It's a charming, exciting, and at times breathtaking set. Play this if you like Augur Zenith, Ray Mohawk 2, or Ancient Aliens. This season, I gave out 271 A's, 306 B's, 104 C's, 58 D's, and 14 F's. This is where I'd normally make a quip about how easy an A I am, but there are 3 good explanations for the top heaviness of this season's grading curve. Number 1, sawed-off wads injected a surplus of A's into the field because I typically want to cover rare and exciting stuff in those episodes. Number 2, the wads I reviewed in Season 3 were, without exception, wads I wanted to cover. Of course, I can't love every map I write about, but from now on, if I'm talking about a WAD, that means I'm cheering for it. Number 3, 4 years of constant Doom playing has broadened my horizons. I like big maps, I like ugly maps, I like retro stuff, I like weird shit, I like jank, I like polish, I like fancy slaughter and slapadash slaughter, I like puzzles when I'm in the mood, I even like when maps are flat out bad, because bad is interesting. All this to say, I like Doom today more than I did in Season 1, so everything looks a little better to me, even the stuff I review negatively. Speaking of which, before we recognize Season 3's most exemplary maps, I would like to extend my gratitude to the authors of the following levels. Asmodeus' Circle from PRCP, Beta Base from Nova the Birth, Cyberdemon Vertigo from PRCP, Den of the Skull from Requiem, The Frying Legion from Junk Food, Hard Target from Kama Sutra, Hectic from Doom 64, Hell's Park from Perdition's Gate, Hell's Playground from Nova the Birth, High on Mountain Dew Voltage from Junk Food, In the Eye of the Beholder from PRCP, I Pour My Mountain Dew Voltage Before My Cereal from Junk Food, The Portal from Requiem, and Spicy Lost Souls from Junk Food. There is no sweet without the sour, and groaning is also part of the fun. I'm glad I played what you made, so thank you. This year there will be no regrades, because I don't want to overthink the process further, so here are Season 3's 23 A+ honorees. In alphabetical order, Alpha Scorpii Supercluster by Antares 031 from Nova 3. At the Mountains of Madness by Moldy from 50 Shades of Greytall. Black Sight by DFF from What Lies Beneath. Boiling Point by Danny Babinga from Combat Shock 2. Comatose by Lanos from 2 Halloweens ago. Crimson Manse by Snaxalotl from Stickney Installation. Depth Charge by Moldy from Overboard. État d'Urgence by Oxide and WH Willu 84 from 180 MPV. Fire Blue Palace by Bemused and Scotty from Nova 3. Hey, This Is Library by Lunch Lunch from 10x10. Iron Exuviae by Dobu Gabu Maru from Nova the Birth. Lunch 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 by Lunch Lunch from 10x10. Man on the Moon by Yugi Boy 85. Mansion Halls of Madness by Mumi from What Lies Beneath. Maskim Zool by Obsidian. Megiddo by Killdeath, Cannonball, Moldy, Arjak, and Dobu Gabu Maru from Nova the Birth. Miss Sporty by Gusta from Kama Sutra. Norwich Lane by Sunny666 from Morbid Autumn. Rev Lucide by Roofy from 180 MPV. Skeleton Coast by Moldy from Overboard. Solar Powered by Big Ol' Billy from Nova 3. Stabbed with a Sword by Ribix from Wormwood Expanded Universe. And Waste Recycling Facility by Man with Gun from Solar Struggle. Congratulations all, and thank you for your work. This season I gave 17 E's, 138 D's, 169 C's, 218 B's, 150 A's, and 50 X's for difficulty, not counting the 3 unofficial X pluses I would have given no chance, Holy Hell, and Occupluck. World Orifices A and X Plus are both legitimate because I beat that map twice and I like it. I had a stretch of burnout from hard stuff last year, which resulted in Nostalgia, Stickney, Solar Struggle, and Ichinichi engorging the season's D percentage. As much as I love to visit the realm of extremes, it's good to have a refuge from it sometimes. Here are the 10 hardest maps from Dean of Doom Season 3. Number 10, Eternal Redemption by Joshi from Resurgence. Number 9, Stabbed with a Sword by Ribix from Wormwood Expanded Universe. Number 8, Hard Target by Method from Kama Sutra. Number 7, The Horror by Ribix from Wormwood 3. Number 6, Celui qui voit le monde by Datacore, Roofy, JC Dorn, Frank Frag, Oxide, and WH Willu 84 from 180 MPV. Number 5, Xanthophobie by WH Willu 84 from 180 MPV. Number 4, Magnus by Ribix from Stardate 20XD6. Number 3, Deus Vult by Hoi Fab. Number 2, Entropy by Nirvana. Number 1, Swim with the Whales Map 3 by Ribix. This season, I would like to add 12 more names to the Dean of Doom Hall of Fame, whose only real distinction is its occupants made my life better with their Doom creations. In alphabetical order, I hereby induct Anders Johnson for his leadership role in the unforgettable, hugely influential Alien Vendetta, which is the PWAD most responsible for drawing me into the world of classic Doom modding. Doom Kid, for his popular and personable character-driven community projects and invaluable contributions to the MIDI pack scene. This is obvious nepotism, since he's a good friend and a longtime supporter of the show, but we can all agree that Doom Kid is one of the community's most important members. He's our king of tutorials, resident Doom myth debunker, MIDI connoisseur, vanilla champion, and cheerleader for Doom content of all sorts. He brings people closer to this game and keeps us here. Dragonfly, for his indelible megawads Eviternity and Eviternity 2, which have brought countless new faces, including mine, to classic Doom. He's one of the great project leads in the history of the game, and I'm indebted to him for 2 magical tours through OTEX. I was gonna wait to induct him until after I talked about Eviternity 2, but I couldn't. For God's sake, the title pick is still my phone's lock screen. Alexander S., aka Eternal, for his incredible run of solo projects in the late aughts and early 10s. Epic, Epic 2, Hellground, and Frozen Time radiate adventure and mystery, and his best cuts from those titles stand as technical and artistic triumphs even today. Gusta, for his megawad Kama Sutra and his dominance over Plutonia 2. Gusta was one of the most entertaining mappers of his day, his vanilla exploits continue to titillate, and if inducting him makes it any more likely that Kama Sutra 2 will come out someday, then allow me to formally join the begging. Josh Seeley, for his megawads Speed of Doom and Resurgence, as well as his contributions to BTSX2, PRCP, 50 Shades of Grey Tall, and Ancient Aliens. Joshi has the third most maps on Dean of Doom to date for good reason. His body of work is immense and consistently delightful. Lunch for the 10x10 project, which, on top of being one of the most riveting WODs of all time, opened the door to my first playthroughs of Sunder, Abandon, and Event Horizon, paved the way for the inimitable 1x1 community project, and reaffirmed the timelessness of Adrian Carmack's artwork and the truth of the old adage, limitation breeds creativity. Mark Klem. Does anybody have a longer list of greatest hits? Midnight Call, Time Runner, Organic Gods, Junkie Smack, Hidden Anger, Tempter, Land of Abel, Under Death, Treasures in the Dark, Give In with Pleasure, The Wind, Disposition, Galaxy, Triangle of Fear, Rage, Simple Solutions. I could go on. I haven't even played half of the WODs these tracks are from, but they keep appearing in Dean of Doom because everybody already knows the guy is an indisputable genius. Rock on, Mark. Ribix, for Stardate 20XD6, Crumpets, his Wormwood maps, his hypnotic MIDI work, and a few other things that we'll get to someday. Somewhere between scientific artist and artistic scientist, Ribix is a chimeric creator of other worlds that only a fool would try to capture in a paragraph, and this fool is both terrified by and hopelessly attracted to his work. There's nobody quite like Ribix. Roofy, for his legendary and instantly memorable contributions to Tangerine Nightmare and 180 MPV. He's one of the most imaginative and recognizable mappers of his generation, and he also happens to be one of my favorite Doom reviewers. Even in his non-native language, he writes with an earnestness, candor, and economy of words that I admire. Tristan Clark, for his Empyrean MIDI discography specializing in epic, brooding compositions like Ionian Isolation, The Forgotten God, and Frozen Wilderness, but balanced by a bevy of bass-driven bops and jubilant sky smashers like Stardust, Earthglow, and Velocity. Tristan is the king of Doom's symphonic rock, but his repertoire expands with every passing year, and he's one of the most sampled composers in Dean of Doom's history for good reason. His passion is contagious. And finally, William Huber, for his contributions to the Troisième d'Agonie series, Tangerine Nightmare, and for steering 180 MPV to classic status. Willu is a speed mapping whiz, one of Slaughter's finest hype men, and a noted map doctor, having collaborated on 4 of his 17 grade A levels. He's one of French Doom's folk heroes, and he deserves a lot of credit for getting them so much airtime on Dean of Doom. And we're back with another splurge of useless information. One more junk food WOD, and we'll be over 2,000 maps reviewed on Dean of Doom. The cumulative highest grade by map slot is still map 26, with a 3.12. For the life of me, I can't figure out why. The cumulative lowest grade by map slot is still map 30, with a 2.41 average. It was out of the doghouse until junk food came along and dealt map 30s a D-, while bumping the second worst slot, 21, up by 3 points to 2.44. The slot with the highest difficulty index is still map 29, but it's neck and neck with map 28. My ratings are almost certainly influenced by the expectation that the second to last map will be the hardest. Difficulty is often a self-fulfilling prophecy in such an inexact science as this. The slot with the most A+ is suddenly map 4, boosted by an outpouring from short WODs this season. 10x10, Morbid Autumn, What Lies Beneath, and Wormwood 2 grew its total to 6. If we thin the competition to just megawads, then it's a 4-way tie for first place between map 10s, 24s, 27s, and 31s. Resurgence tied Valiant's record of 18 A's in a single WOD, something that Junk Food couldn't do in 69 maps. Sorry, Junk Food. The new record for most B's in a single WOD is Nostalgia, with 22, beating Nova 2's mark of 18. Doom 64 shattered the much-coveted record for most C's in a single WOD with 12. Not to pick on Junk Food, but it did set a new record for D or lower grades in a single WOD with 17. But that will be considered the unofficial record, since its plus-sized roster also contained more than a standard megawads worth of A's and B's. After 3 seasons, these are the only map slots to never be valedictorian. Map 3, Map 11, Map 13, Map 21, and Map 25. Map 11s and 21s have not received a single valedictorian or salutatorian, but have collected 4 dunce caps, including 2 last season. Maps 13, 17, 26, and 29 are the only slots to have still eluded the dunce cap. This season, Map 31s pulled ahead as the most dunce-capped slot, with 6 occurrences, including 2 Ribix maps, which is almost beyond comprehension. Finally, I am retiring the fake wall counter, because I have better ways of spending 2 hours than looking through old Vegas projects, but not the fake wall gag, because I'm a creature of habit. Now for Season 3's Senior Superlatives. Most Artistic, 50 Shades of Grey Tall. Most Dramatic, Comatose. Computer whiz, given to the season's tech-basiest WAD, is Scythe X. Most athletic, given to the WAD that demands the most Doom Guy cardio, is 180 MPV. Most musically talented, Back to Saturn X Episode 2. Most likely to succeed, What Lies Beneath and the Beetle Boys generally. Most likely to brighten your day, Overboard. Best dressed, the 10x10 Project. The Bookworm Award could only go to Maskim Zool, but hey, This Is Library gave it a good run. Cutest couple, Doom 64 and its many loyal fans. And finally, the class clown, Kama Sutra. I don't know what the future holds for Dean of Doom. It seems like a bad idea to promise a 4th season at this juncture because I have not been very good at keeping promises. I teased Eternal Doom in the Season 3 trailer and didn't cover it. I had plans to start the second half of Season 3 with a 90s themed month, but at that time I felt unable to do Eternal Doom justice, so I shelved it. Writing roadblocks of all kinds have plagued me for years, but Dean of Doom sometimes hits me with a special kind of paralysis. It's not simply about writing something that entertains. It's about evaluating Doom maps honestly and mostly unpretentiously, without mauling stuff I don't immediately enjoy, but having the backbone to say something sucks if I think it sucks, and generally treating the Doom mapping art form with respect and reverence in an entertaining way. This would be plenty complicated without me having to deal with Mount Payne's volatile geothermal activity, but even during breaks from that, the words flow less like water and more like mucus. I feel that I've mishandled a lot of things with this show, despite my good intentions. One of Dean of Doom's main plot lines, that Sunlust will be the final episode, exists because I'm oversensitive to YouTube comments. I set up the season format to catch my breath in 2021, but now we're in year 3 of season 3, and the waits between episodes are ridiculous. I haven't meaningfully iterated on Dean of Doom's formula since sawed-off WADs, which I haven't made enough of. In April, I had a plan for how this show would continue, but then I stared at this paragraph for a month and didn't really play any Doom. Now I don't know what's going to happen. Dean of Doom isn't over, but it's not really operational either. I wish I could give you more certainty, but I don't want to mislead, disappoint, or overestimate my own importance in the scheme of things, so instead I'll just say thank you all very much for watching, and let's commence some Doom WADs. Presenting Dean of Doom, Class of Season 3. The 10x10 Project. 180 minutes pour vivre. 50 Shades of Grey Tall. Alien Vendetta Black Label. Altitude. Back to Saturn X Episode 2, Tower and the Fountain of Sparks. Brigandine. Comatose. Combat Shock. Combat Shock 2. Crumpets. Darkest Room. Deus Vault. Doom 64. Doom Guy Gets a Puppy. Doomsday of UAC, The Egg of Human Endeavors, Entropy, Epic 2, Fallen Leaves, Gateway to Shangri-La, Ichinichi, Jade Earth, Junk Food, Kama Sutra, Machete, Man on the Moon, Maskim Zool, Morbid Autumn, More Death, Nostalgia, Nova the Birth, Nova 3, Null Space, The Old Bean Factory, Orange is True Love, Overboard, Perdition's Gate, Plutonia Revisited Community Project, Ray Mohawk's Manic Monday, Ray Mohawk 2, Ray Wreaks Havoc, Requiem, Resurgence, Scythe X, Sigil 2, Solar Struggle, Stardate 20XD6, Stickney Installation, Swim with the Whales, Traveling to the Moon, Violence, What Lies Beneath, World Orifice, Wormwood Expanded Universe, and Wormwood 3. This is Mount Payne 27, and I'll see you all next time on Dean of Doom.